Thank you three for being here and taking the time in your very busy schedules to talk to me. All three of you are currently public school teachers, and you have had your school year, your career, your job change in a way that was not planned, not discussed, not intended for this year. I want to talk about that a little bit. So first, let's start and tell me who you are, what you teach, and how many years you've been teaching.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Perrin. This is my 10th year of teaching and my 7th year with Wiley ISD, and I teach kindergarten.
I'm Carolyn Russell. This is my 11th year teaching. I teach 4th grade English and Social Studies, and I currently teach at a charter school in Sunnyvale.
My name is Charity Hartwick. This is my 14th year teaching. I teach 9th through 12th graders. I teach dance, and I do the drill team at Garland High School.
Okay, so all of you have years of experience, and I'm going to assume you knew what your job was when you started the year. Now, Carolyn, I know you started at a new school and a new grade level this year, but you all are experienced enough that you have a plan for what the school year will be.
Right.
That has changed dramatically, and I guarantee there were no last fall when you were doing the start of school education classes and stuff. I bet there was none about, here's what we're going to do in case we have a pandemic and we all go online, right? That's not a discussion you were having. Okay, so tell me, what is different? You all teach different grade levels, different subjects. What is different about this new online distance learning that's different for you and what you're doing?
So with kindergarten, everything is very hands-on. Lots of tactile learning, and we use manipulatives. So the students don't have any access to any of those items at home. They may have books at home, but a lot of my books are at school right now. So we're just having to use our online resources for literature, for math, record my lessons, and they learn from listening to a video of their teacher without all of the things that they had all year long.
Okay.
Well, for me, having a whole new grade level and teaching English, this is their first year that they get state tested on writing. So we had done a lot of writing practice, and we were able to get them their books and all of that, and some of our programs are online, and we switched to online, but just not having that face-to-face contact and that individualized contact with the kids, even as a group, to instruct them on what to do and how this works, and putting directions and online and trying to explain to them how to do it online when you haven't done that all year. And getting them to go online was my first biggest challenge. So
well, mine looks very different. Obviously teaching dance and doing drill team, that is all learning by watching and kinesthetic. And then for me, everything of what I do is watching my students and watching them do it. And so to have to kind of transition to this online platform has been difficult, but I think the biggest thing for me is realizing the varying degrees and places that my students are in their homes. And so for some of them, they don't have internet and working with that or technology. Just even the very basic things to get into place to even let online teaching happen has been interesting. So a lot has changed for me. We've now done officer tryouts online. We are doing drill team tryouts online. And so a lot is very different.
Wow. What you mentioned, what you've learned about students. I'm interested in all three of you. What new things are you learning about your students in this format or maybe the question is, what are you not learning about your students that you feel that you would get? Do you feel like they're sliding through and you're not catching things that you would have in this last quarter of the year? Do you feel you're getting insight, like Charity, you were just mentioning, into maybe home life that you wouldn't have gotten? I'm just interested in what you're learning about your students in this different format.
Going off of what Charity said, I'm just learning kind of some of the hardships that some of my kids have that maybe, may have known a little bit at the beginning of the school year and as the school progressed. But I have kids that if both parents are working throughout the day, and maybe they don't get to do school until, the evening, late evening. And so there's students who maybe can't get on my live times during the day. I'll send them emails and things like that, but there's some that I have not seen since we got out for spring break. So that's been a struggle to not get to lay eyes on them and see them growing.
I agree with that. For me, I'm finding out a lot of different things about the home life of students, and where I'm at, it's Title I. So our school always had free breakfast. So it's interesting to see how that impacts them, how their parents' work schedules are impacting them. Fortunately, I have a lot of parents who are able to work at home so they can, stay on top of it. But I've formed a lot of relationships with parents that are a whole lot tighter than they were, because we've had to make the phone calls and we've had to do the emails. I mean, I had to set up a fake phone number so students could call me so they wouldn't have my real one. And just how much they're actually missing the interaction. We did a writing prompt, 3 things you don't like, and majority of them, and I couldn't believe it, was, I miss my teachers. And you don't hear that all year. And that was a big impactful moment that, they want to call, they want to talk, they want to see me, they want to have that interaction, and they miss that. And that was something that in their life was stable, and now it's not.
I think for me, I have learned a lot about my students and certain students, and again, home life. As both of you ladies have said, for high school age, a lot of them are taking care of younger siblings, and they're trying to help their younger siblings do online learning as well as themselves. They're being inundated with online assignments kind of all at once, and they're really struggling to figure out time management and how to do that. At least for our campus, kind of everything rolls out Monday and they have a week. And they're not used to that. They're used to being it paced out. And so a lot of them are very stressed about that and overwhelmed and having to learn how to do that. Some of them are even still working. Some of them are essential workers at, restaurants and things like that. And so they're having to do a lot in with their families, and high schoolers kind of understand what's happening both in our world and with their families financially, parents losing jobs or things like that. And so there's a lot of stress and anxiety that I am seeing in our students, the ones that I get to see and the ones that I get to talk to. What's really hard for me is the ones that don't. I have 170 students, and so trying to get in contact with all of them and see what's happening with them is really difficult. And, at school, I got to see them every day and lay eyes on them and know that they're okay and have those quick little conversations. And if they don't reach out to me, of course we're reaching out and calling and messaging and doing what we can. But it's difficult to get in contact with a lot of our students. And that's really stressful for me because I don't know what's going on with them. And I don't know that some of them are okay or that their family lives are okay. Whereas at school, I could see them and know that they were okay or talk to them if they weren't.
Well, that's powerful. Tell me, how would you say to our church family, how should we be praying for teachers right now? And maybe some of that is praying, you're also all moms who have your own kids. So you're juggling getting your own kids educated while you're trying to educate other children. So maybe part of the prayer is that perspective also, but tell me, what would your prayer request be, or would you suggest we pray?
I guess the prayer request that for myself, and probably I could speak for most teachers, is, we're in the profession because we love students. and not getting to be with them every single day, kind of a piece of you is gone. And I'm struggling with not getting to celebrate and praise my students for all the growth they've made, especially kindergarten. When they come in, those babies sometimes have little to no exposure to school, and to see them from where they started in August until where they get to in May, I'm only getting to see that through a computer. I'm not getting to witness that with them. And so that's something that's, that I'm struggling with, and that's hard for me. But then, also thinking about my kids, like they don't get to experience a lot of their firsts as kindergartners. And so that just kind of breaks my heart for them and for their parents, and for all the teachers that don't get to celebrate in person with their kiddos.
I'm gonna go off of what she said. I think they need to be praying for our students, because we don't know what they're dealing with at home. They're struggling just as much as we are, so we need to be praying for teachers. We need to be praying for students. We need to be praying for the teachers for next year, because we're going to come in, and because of this, the kids are going to come in already behind. And if you had kids that were already behind before that, they're going to come in really behind. So we're going to have to next year, we're already talking on my campus. What do we do? How do we do this next year? How do we better prepare? Because we got to adjust next year to this situation. So it's still going to carry over even through, the beginning of the 2020-2021 school year. So I think just for our peace and for our calm, for the same thing of our students, like Charity said, kids suffering from anxiety and all of that, and our teachers are doing the same thing. But our ability to be prepared and ready for next year, and how this has affected that, even though we don't know what it is yet.
I think personally for teachers, as you mentioned, all of us are moms, and a lot of teachers are moms, and their spouse may or may not be working in the home. Mine's an essential worker, and so he's gone all day. And so educating two small children that can't really do it on their own, and then also making sure that I'm taking care of my 170 children is a lot. And so I think that teachers are working tons of there's no turn off now. I'm checking my emails at 10 o'clock and responding to students, because that's when they can email me, and that's when they're available. And so I want to be available. I'm working on weekends to prepare for the week so that I can be better prepared, since I do have young ones at home. And so I think teachers aren't able to disconnect very well. And I think that teachers are just working a lot and a long time. And then even just carrying it in their brain, if they're not actually doing it, the stress of what our students are experiencing, teachers carry all of that. And so just praying for teachers to kind of carry that burden well. And then I would also say for God to just make us aware of those students that need that extra help, and that the school districts are doing an amazing job of providing it. And we as teachers normally are the ones who can identify those students that need support in different areas. And it's hard now when we're virtual. And so for God to just supernaturally show us those students that really need the extra support, and then to provide it for teachers to be able to give that to their students.
Well, before I let you go, let me ask you about the Zoom classroom and meeting with your students, or maybe you're using a Microsoft format or something else. But when you're doing all these video classroom stuff, have you had any interesting experiences? Because that's a whole new ball game and very different.
I haven't had any strange experiences. It's just really funny with kindergartners because they think it's like a big show and tell moment. And so, you're in the middle of having a conversation and they all of a sudden think, oh, you need to see my cat. And they just like run off, and you're just stuck staring at yourself. And then they come back with, their cat, their toys, and, all these things. And it's funny because they want to show you or their classmates. But that's really the only funny, I guess, that I've had with kindergartners is just the big show and tell moment.
I have a student who in class a lot of times I have to say, dude, I'm over here. Hey, pay attention. Sit down. Da, 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 da. And when we're doing our Google chat, like I do mine in small groups just because I'm not doing all 23 of them. And he'll get up and be like, where are you? I'm still here. So, I mean, come on. And I'm like, it's just like it's in the classroom. What are you doing? And he's like, I'm just keeping it real, Miss Russell. Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, that's been the only really, anybody does it every time we get on. He does the same thing over and over. And I'm like, okay, some things never change. So even online.
My high schoolers are really nosy and they really enjoy this like glimpse into my home. And so they want to be like, take us into the other room. What's in there? And they want like a tour around, which isn't going to happen. And they also get to have random facts from my children all the time. They'll just pop in and Holden will give them a random Titanic fact or something about Tom Brady and then run off. And so they're getting lots of interesting glimpses into my home life.
Well, thank you all for your time today. I appreciate it very much. I appreciate what you're doing. And we will continue to pray for our teachers, our educators, our administrators, as well as our students, because this is a whole new ball game. And I'm praying for you to end the year well, and that there is some turnoff before you come back into the fall for what is sure to be a different fall and a different start to the year because of this, as you all noted. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time and the ministry you have in the public schools.
Thank you.
Thanks.